There's a misnomer in cytometry about what exploratory panels are, and we're going to talk about that a little bit today. The difference between panels in terms of definitions, the first is what we call limited. These are your classic TBNK panels. These are constrained only to the markers that impact the drug's mechanism of action. So the cost may not be super expensive, but these could be trial changing in terms of changing dose, safety, etc. The next step up is exploratory, where we hear a lot of this in terms of high parameter panels. These include markers that may be outside the drug's mechanism of action. So think a T panel that looks at B cells. So this might be very expensive and maybe considered a nice to have. What we would posit is that there's a third ground called detailed, and these panels have comprehensive subtypes of markers within the mechanism of action and probably strike a price between limited and exploratory. And the impact could be trial changing also in terms of dose, safety, biomarker, mechanism of action, etc. So let's take a case in point. This is a classic quote from a T cell developer. My drug hits the T cells. Why should I bother looking at any other immune cell types like the B cells or NK cells? Even if those cells are affected, I don't know how to interpret those results. And so this T cell developer might use only this limited panel. And this is just like a 4-marker panel that allows him to look at leukocytes, non-grans, and then within non-grans, T cells, NK cells, and B cells. And then you can see at the top neutrophils as well. So this limited panel, he might hypothesize, is enough. And the detail in the T cells might matter a great deal. And this is our argument, which is that if you look at the T cells, if this person is developing a drug that actually goes down into the details of the T cells, like CD4, CD8, or potentially memory types within the CD8 T cells, this scientist might be missing a lot by just focusing on T cells alone and not seeing the individual details. Usually what these folks are concerned about is an exploratory panel that doesn't go deep enough on the T cells, but goes into quote unquote too much B cell detail. You can see here on the right-hand side, there's a lot of B cell subtypes. So this developer might think this is a T cell drug. Why would I care that much about these random B cells? So we'll make 3 claims on cytometry panels. 1, limited panels are not enough to win in terms of approvals or biomarker analysis. 2, exploratory has gotten confused with detailed. And then 3, which we're not going to cover today, but we'll give a quick preview, even exploratory itself has gotten a bad rap. Our argument is that cytometry isn't that exploratory. Single-cell RNA-seq is probably better considered exploratory versus cytometry. Here's an example. Let's take B-cell details. So this is a immunotherapy, and on the left-hand side, you can see dendritic cells. They're presenting antigens to T helper cells. And then as you march across the screen, you can see cytotoxic T cells, and then attacking this threat, the cancer cell pathogen. So a careful reader might have noticed, well, how are those cancer cell pathogens marked for destruction? How did cytotoxic T cells even know what to attack? And that's what's missing here, which is a B cell panel. If you look at this B cell chain, for example, the T helper cells provide help to the B cells, which in turn differentiate into plasma cells, which can produce antibodies, which mark these cancer cells for destruction. And also here, these memory B cells might produce rapid recall response and then again, mark these cancer cells or pathogens for destruction. So if you're just looking at the T cells and you're trying to debug your drug or diagnose why it's not working, T cells might not be enough. So even that quote unquote exploratory detail might be useful. So hopefully this gives you a preview of why exploratory is getting a bad rap as well. And in general, why these 3 terms, limited, detailed, and exploratory, might be useful in cytometry. So if you're interested in more work like this, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cytometry insights or visit takeo.bio to learn more. Thanks for signing on.